number 2 on our list. Sometimes that longevity and prolonged greatness is something that you absolutely have to recognize, and the epitome of that is somebody who has been playing since not season 3 or 4, but we are talking season 1. One of the truest OG League of Legends players that we still have, and one of only 2 members still playing from the season 1 World Championship. He is the greatest top laner in Western history, maybe the most accomplished player in Western history. It is Soaz, the god and the maestro of the top lane. And yes, the highest performance we've seen him play at, no, it does not match the Shy or Marin, but the fact that this guy has been competitive and been at the top of his region and been able to compete internationally since season 1 is absolutely something that we have to recognize. And it's just, I mean, the career accolades and number of titles that this guy has won is absolutely insane. And really, pre-season 3 and onwards is almost broken up to 2 entirely different games. And this guy is the transition between both. He played in the early days where there was no LCS. You were playing all these random tournaments. And by the way, Fnatic then was winning pretty much all of them. He was the runner-up with Expeke and the boys at one of the biggest and most competitive tournaments of all time at IPL 5, where then the dominant World Elite roster won that one, but I mean, he's been to the finals 2 times, 7 years apart at the World Championship. He got there to the semis with Origin in 2015 and 2013 with Fnatic. He's got a bunch, 5 LEC titles under his belt. Obviously, one he wasn't quite as much of a part of. So really, it's 4. It's a little bit cheating there, but he has played at IEMs as well. And listen, Soaz gets a lot of flack. He's gotten a lot of deaths throughout his career, and Cyanide in an interview, I think, described it the best. He described Soaz as the kid in school who doesn't study at all for tests, just goofs around, and then when the exam comes, he does better than everybody else who studied. Everybody hates that guy, and Soaz, he would just kind of slump through the regular season in EU, you know, whatever. There's so many of these games, so I'll just wait for playoffs. But credit to this guy, when playoffs or international competition did come around, he absolutely turned it on to another level. The prime example of that came in 2017 when Fnatic started 0-4 and people were saying Soaz needs to retire. He should not play another game on the Rift. He looks absolutely terrible. And then he ended up playing a huge role in that 4-0 turnaround. He kind of clinched it for them in that tiebreaker against the Gigabyte Marines. So when the games matter and are more and more important than next, then Soaz just slowly starts playing better and better. We've seen him go toe-to-toe against the best top laners of that era, and the guy's done it across multiple eras. You talked about Marin being incredible, and his peak was unmatched. Well, Soaz played against him and didn't get destroyed, but he also did that against Smeb. He did that against previous eras. He played against Going in 2013. Whoever was the best top laner in the world at the time, Soaz would hold his own against them. And the fact that he did that against 6-7 years plus of competition is absolutely why he is deserving of being on this list. Maybe he was never the featured carry on any of the rosters that he's been on like some of these other players, but all the titles are there and the longevity is just absolutely incredible. He deserves number 2, but he does not quite deserve number 1. That honor, of course, goes to the former best player in the world. That's right, dethroning Faker himself, Smeb of the Rox Tigers, Coup Tigers, KT, Rolster. The early days in Smeb's career, he was not even really a LCK level top laner. He was slumming it in the challenger scene and struggling to get out of any kind of group stage action in the LCK. But when he got together with the Coup Tigers, Prey, Gorilla, and the boys is really when he started turning it on. He's still the only player to win back-to-back LCK MVPs in 2016, and that is why for that entire year, I think his peak performance was reaching, maybe even exceeding that of what we saw from Marin. And when he came into Worlds 2016, he was the consensus best player in the world coming into that event. He was number one in everybody's top 20 rankings, and that was the first time you had coming into a world championship that Faker was playing in that he wasn't number one, and I don't think there was really an argument against it. He could play whatever champion you wanted, and it was, you know, it's really the LCK that you see top laners be the featured carry. No other region really did that very much, but Marin did it to an extent, but Smeb was really the first, okay, this guy is our featured carry, he's the man to watch, he's going to pop off and carry some of these games, and he absolutely did that on the Tigers because Kuro was almost, you're just there to go even, man, so that Smeb can completely carry some of these games. And I mean, he's playing characters like Riven to completely do that. I think he absolutely lived up to the hype at 2017 Worlds, or 2016 Worlds, excuse me, and he showcased that he is world class and deserving of that number one title. Obviously, he did not get to the finals because he played against SKT in the semis, but if they had won that series, I think it is a completely, obviously revisionist history, but a completely different look on the overall landscape of the competitive scene if the Tigers were able to get to those finals. And we're probably even praising Smeb to an even higher level. And we talked about 2016 was absolutely his peak, but people seem to forget that for 2017 and 2018, it was basically 3 full years, even some of 2015. You could say 3.5, almost 4 years, where you were talking about Smeb as one of, at the very worst, a top 3 top laner in the LCK. So he had the longevity, he had the peak performance, he has the LCK titles, he's got the MVPs. He might not have a world championship, but that is just because he had the unfortunate honor of running into SKT in back-to-back championship. So Smeb has the resume there to absolutely be deserving of number one on our list. But that's all the time today.